the loan, I'm using loan advisedly for Vodafone. How long have you known that it wasn't a loan, but it was government's investment in Vodafone?
It has always been stated as a loan, as an equity investment, as government equity investment.
Okay, so when the audit was done in 2015, were you given a copy, a draft of that audit?
The auditors probably didn't see their way clear in this regard.
No, were you given a copy?
A copy
of the draft?
No, I wasn't there, so I wouldn't be able to respond to that seriously.
Okay, so nobody at that place before you knew that it wasn't a loan, but was part of government's equity?
Honorable
check on that.
Mr. Controller, if you cannot answer the question, you can pass it on to the directors who were there at that time.
I'll ask my deputy FMS.
Yeah, Chairman, when the auditors raised the issue, we believe that it was a part of the understatement of the loans. It was later on that when we were trying to do the reconciliation with the various institutions, we found out that that of the Vodafone was not a loan. So it was actually stated amongst the equity investment that we have.
The Auditor General will perform an audit, give the institution a copy, or they will give you a draft. And it looks like we don't go through them because the Auditor General has printed or has published that this is a loan. Now, from your responses that we got, which came in on August, dated August 3rd, that is when it is stating over there that no, it is not a loan, part of our equity. So was there any kind of reconciliation when the audit was done?
The accounts are prepared. By 31st, we forward it to the Auditor General. The Auditor General between April and then June will be submitting the various observations. Some of them can come to us even in June. That is the time they were about ending. And that's why some of these things happen. But subsequently, when we got to know it, we drew the attention. And that's what our response is.
You see, page 45. And Controller, I was getting the impression that when it comes to the loan receivables, it was only government entities that owe some money. But if we go through these pages, some of them are not government entities. Some are individuals, private companies. And the report says some of these loans haven't been serviced for the last 10 years. And if you go to page 47, where it has a list of all those people who owe some money. I don't want to mention some of these names, but you can see that these are individuals. So let's correct that impression. It wasn't just government entities, but there are some individuals who owe some money over here. What are we doing about these individuals?
Attempts have been made to recover from these institutions and other companies. So many of them, even though they are in the books as of now, tracing them is even a problem. Many of them, because accountants, we keep proper records, but physically, sometimes there's a difficulty in tracing the companies to recover.
But Mr. Chairman, my last question. When this audit was done in 2015, the observation of the Auditor General was some of these having been serviced for the last 10 years. So what were we doing the last 10 years on recovery of some of these loans?
Attempts were made to recover. There was even a desk at the Ministry of Finance that was responsible for the recoveries, public debt recovery. So, and even as of now, some of these companies, where we are able to, we chase them and then recover the monies. But a number of them, they are still in the books, but there's a difficulty even in tracing them.
Mr. Chair, my last comment. Some of these people, some of these individuals, we all know them. They are walking around. They have companies that are operating. We are talking about these individuals.
We will help Controller and Accountant General and all of us to retrieve these monies from those defaulters, please.
Chairman, being an accountant, you are aware of the Limitation Act. When you now realize that there are individuals, and the Limitation Act has to do with individuals, not government institutions. Now, we are talking about 10 or 15 years. Don't you think that these individuals can go scot-free? Because you cannot challenge this if you choose to go to court using the Limitation Act of 10 years. That you are aware, the Limitation Act will give you only 6 years.
And on page 47, it's institutions, not individuals. They are companies, no, he's saying individuals, but they are companies. Yes, on page 47.
Mr. Chairman,
they are companies.
Privately owned companies, not state-owned.
Yes, so, but they are not individuals. That's what I want to say, that they are not individuals.
And the Limitation Act applies to the individual and individual companies, not state.
Mr. Chairman, I understand that, but I just want us to clarify this, that they are not individuals. They may be private companies, but they are actually companies, not individuals.
Well, I think that it's a matter of semantics. They're actually referring to private
companies. Yes, because honourable member said the individuals are working freely, but they are private companies. So, Controller, please go ahead.
Several years ago, every year we attempt to recover. And like we said, we gave you a list of how much we've been able to recover from some of these companies. So efforts are made to recover these monies. Every year, we try as much as possible to recover. And even this year, those that we've been able to chase, we have been able to recover. So not that nobody has bothered to recover. The effort is always on. But what I'm saying is that much as these companies exist in our books, some of them we may have to look at them again. For instance, you look at Ghana Bottling Company, Pepsi Cola. The place is bushy. There's nothing happening there. So,
Mr. Chairman, it's interesting that he will give examples of companies that have gone out of business, but there are some private companies that are still operating over here. You get 18 million out of 1.5 billion, and we should clap for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is not good enough. Like I said, we'll work closely with Controller to retrieve these loans.
Do we have a dedicated debt recovery desk at the ministry?
Yes.
If we don't, let's try and get a dedicated desk for that purpose.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's a recovery desk, but we will strengthen it and do everything possible, to draw the attention of these people that these are the amounts that they owe, so they should come in and recover these, help us recover these monies.
Thank you, Mr. Controller. When you transfer or you disburse money from the consolidated fund to an MDA, do you consider it to be expenditure?
Not at all. It is not expenditure.
At what point do you consider as part of expenditure?
Expenditures accounts, we also have what you call receipts and payments accounts. Even loans coming into the government are not revenues. Loans are receipts. So we accordingly report the loans in the receipt account. We don't show loans as revenues because they are to be paid. But we would report on revenues, taxes in the revenue account. So that is the difference.
I understand perfectly that we have a receipts and payment account. We have revenue and expenditure accounts. Now, my question is, at what point do you consider a payment out of the consolidated fund to, let's say, Ministry of education, at what point do you consider it to be an expenditure, if not a payment? Because the payment and expenditure are not the same. So you transfer 100 million to Ministry of Education for goods and services. Probably is paid into an MDA account, which is not a consolidated fund, if I'm right. Do you consider that payment as an expenditure?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we have transfers and we have disbursement and we have expenditures. You rightly said goods and services. When we pay goods and services to Ghana Education Service, or for that matter, MOE, it is expenditure. But when we transfer money from consolidated fund into GET fund, it's a payment or a transfer.
Is it always, Chief Director, before you come, is it always that every transfer you make to Ministry of Education or Ghana Education Service for goods and services, is it always an expenditure?
Yeah, Honorable Chair, we take note of the fact that we are before a chairman who knows the public account system inside out, because he's been in the system before. So we are very careful how we respond to you. Not every payment to education for goods and services is expenditure. I mean, as we try to explain, they have their sub-CF account. So money can be transferred into that account, and once until they have gone onto the GIFME system and recorded an expenditure and gone through the process of, getting requisition, goods delivered, grading invoice, and it's approved on the system, then it becomes expenditure. But all those details, maybe I think people are able to help us to clarify.
That is clear. Okay. That is clear. Thank you very much.
I quite remember some time ago, the President of the Republic at that time and some of the ministers agreed that there should be 10% cut in their salary. And they wanted to use that money to build cheap compounds for some towns or for some villages in this country. But if you look at the statement here, looking at it, the 2015, it seems you recorded 0. That is page 35.
Honorable member, you didn't know the endpoints of that voluntary offer.
So
you didn't know. So if 2015 there was no reports, probably the endpoint was 2014. You could see an amount of 896,457 Ghana cedis reported for 2014. I thought your question would have been, what was the end point of that policy voluntary decision by political appointees?
Mr. Chairman, I did not conclude. You just picked the you just took the question out of my mouth. Please, maybe Ghanaians want to know. Ghanaians, because this is a public document. If somebody picked this document and this explanation is not there.
I think at the point I'm making, you should understand. If the end point is 2016, 2015, and there was nothing reported for 2015, then your question is relevant.
So
as of the end point first.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to find out from the controller or the minister why 0 was recorded in 2015, because we knew there was a 10% cut in the salaries of government appointees.
So as and when we deduct from the payroll, it goes directly to the owner of the money. And that's why in 2015, we didn't see anything at all. Because that money was not meant for government. It was their own voluntary money, which initially we were holding in trust. So subsequently, when they said, as soon as we deduct, bring it to us, definitely it should go to them. That was the reason.
ADB, 26 million. The first item, 26 million. We are talking about 2015. And you are aware on 2015, that very item you put there, the floating share was 500 million. Mr. Chairman, the controller, who is a seasoned accountant, I'm aware, once you are aware, in 2015, that was the floating. And even the ordinary share per par value was 80 million. Now you have it in your own books, accounting, recording 26 million. So now, can you tell us the Ghana as a government or as a country, our interest? And when you send it to the market, if you send your ordinary share to the market saying that it's 80 million per par value, it means you are simply telling that this is what you send to the market at least, even at all, if you are not referring to the floating of 500 million dollars. But let's stick to even our ordinary share we send to the market as 80 million. So, but how did you have 26 million
Mr. Chairman,
in your books?
We are moving into the area of valuation of shares and businesses. We are not there yet. This account is historical. We show in the accounts the actual value that we paid. We can only value your shares at the time of disposal when you are selling your shares. That is the issue where all that, Mr. Chairman, you have described comes into play. But when you are not disposing your shares, neither are you going into a process of revaluation or what have you. You show in the account the historical values. You can check from any other source. That is the position accounting. That is the original value. If ADB is going to be sold, then the issue of valuation comes in, because we paid for 26,000. We can value at the market value now when we are selling. But you cannot value your shares at any point in time and show the value in the accounts.
Very good. Mr. Controller, I have also shown you your ordinary share, which is 80 million. I'm not talking of the floating share here, that you want to do the valuation and come out with what you are saying. And even besides, if you are not treating it in that context, but take the 80%, which I know Ghana government has 52% in ADB. So if you even want to do it with the 52%, then in your books, it should be reflecting the 41 million, not 26 million. So now, if you are saying that this particular item is not correct, then you are giving a misleading information.
We are not privy to the information that you have there.
It is not any. So, but I'll continue.
Let me just do a follow-up. These 26 million.
And the item is Nimon Ghana Limited. This report is telling us Ghana government holds 10% shares. Now, if you look at this, the balances, there's nothing showing there. It's zero. So,
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Concerning Newmont, we'll get back to you on this. We don't want to speculate anything. So we'll get back to you on this with facts concerning this one. Thank you very much. I believe this should close the matter on Newmont.
In regards to the ghost names and those that were struck off, there were a lot of teachers in my constituency that called me, existing human physical beings. Their name was struck off, indicating they were ghosts. Going forward, I know some of them suffered about 2 months before they can be restored. We want to be sure, or you assure the public, that those ghost indications that were made and the figures that were spreading everywhere of the media are not correct. Did you believe it, me?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as part of cleaning the payroll system, government decided to partner with SNIT to do this. And in doing so, SNIT asked government workers to register on the biometric. And so we gave some timelines. And we said, if by this time all workers haven't done that, we will go ahead and then take their names off the payroll until they do it, and then we'll get their names back on the payroll. And Mr. Chairman, I believe it's helped in several ways. For you, the worker, it will make it simpler and easier. Should you retire for them to be able to better assess your retirement benefits. And in a way, we were able to, establish the actual number was 26,000, and we are still left with about 3,000 that are yet to do the biometric. So we are not saying they are ghost names, but we wanted the right thing to be done. And moving forward, what we are saying is that we want to bring checks and balances in the payroll system. We want you to help us. We also want to help you. So let's all do the biometric. Once we do the biometric, we'll be in a better position to serve this nation better. Thank you. The mid-year review on paragraph 86, we reduced goods and services by 867 million.
All right, that is okay, yes. Which means that it's affecting goods and services.
It is affecting goods and services, but not on items or social items that
okay, it's understood. It affects goods and services, but not the social items that you're talking
not
about.
On social items that will have a major impact on the citizens of Ghana.
Again, the reduction, the mid-year review, was a decision taken in Parliament in the form of approval of that.
Mr. Chairman, please.
Did Parliament approve that review?
Mr. Chairman, this wasn't a review. It was information that we were given to Parliament per the PFM Act that we are supposed to.
Which means that the original figures approved by Parliament in March still hold.
Mr. Chairman, we didn't touch the appropriation.
Chairman. So I'm only telling you that what the minister came to do, he came not in the form of a motion, he came in the form of a statement for information for members. The House didn't take a decision. So if you say that you have reduced revenue by 1.4, you have reduced expenditure by 2.2, we do not know anything about that. The amount we approved for you in March still hold.
Mr. Chairman, if
honorable members, let me give the floor to ranking member.
Thank you, Chairman. Before I go on to my main question, there was a question from a member, and I want to be clear with your answers. The question was, there was a statement by President Mahama that in order to encourage Ghanaians to accept the budget, all political appointees have agreed or decided to cut their salaries by 10%, and that will be applied to build cheap compounds and that sort of thing. According to your schedule on page 59 of your report, that money, and from your answer, that money was sent back. I want to know whether it was sent back to the donors or to the presidency or to the chief director. I want to know. Thank you. And how your action, was it based on a letter or what?
The then executive wrote to us that these people deduct so much from their salaries, and then when you deduct, then you put it in an account at that time. So subsequently, they wrote that we should release the money, and we release the money accordingly. So, from the, let's say from the chief of staff, from the chief of staff. And let us also get it very clear. When deductions are made for unions, for associations, the monies are later on relayed to them. That is how we operate. So as to what they have done with the money, that one is not an area for us to answer, because it is not, or it was not a statutory deduction. which we should have taken and then say pay to Senate or pay to GRA. This one was a voluntary deduction. So when you deduct, you give it to the one who asked you to deduct on his behalf.
Are you saying that, concern, this was donations, voluntary donations by individuals? Are you saying that when people make donations to the state, they can write back and ask you to give them their money?
Honorable, before you answer, the Honorable Ranking Member should qualify and tell us if the policy decision of the deduction was meant to donate that money to government. It wasn't meant to donate the money to government. No. Voluntary contribution of 10% from salaries of government appointees for a purpose. What we need to do is that once the money has been sent back to Chief of Staff, it is for us to do a follow-up and say, was it used for the intended purpose? We don't describe it as a donation. If you say donation, this might be a donation to somebody. No, it's not a donation.
Whatever you want to describe it. But please, let me ask my questions. Is it a practice? Because at least we were told the purpose for which this money should be used for, to do cheap compounds. Is it a practice that, despite the presence of water and sanitation and other agencies, is it the chief of staff that used money to build cheap compounds?
I can answer, and I would say we will go back and check the records and inform the House accordingly. Thank you.
No, my point is that whether it was contribution or donation, everybody was told it was for this purpose. Is it the practice that you give the money back to the donors to go and do those projects? Is it a practice in your government circles?
Let me come in. Yes, we'll get back. It is the first time that a voluntary contribution was being made from political appointees. So it can never be a practice. It can never be a practice. It was the first time. Again, the contributors are not donors. They are not donors.
Chairman, I'm unable to agree with you on this one. When I earn my salary and decide to give 10% for some state intervention, I think you can describe me as a donor to the state. I don't see the difference between that and what you are calling. But anyway, the gift mix system was put into place to make sure that we avoid budget overruns and by departments and agencies under the government. In spite of the existence of the system, there were huge budget overruns in a lot of departments and that sort of thing. I also noticed that there were commitments. Is the system able to take care of legal commitments that are made by departments and agencies, the Give Me system?
Honorable Chair, is it the Give Me platform for processing and payment? It is a procedural. Instead of going through your transaction manually, carrying vouchers, carrying the SRAs, carrying this, go to finance, obtain releases, everything now has been made clear and bare on the system for you. So once you are, as it were, defined on the system, you are given a password. It's like accessing your inbox. What do you call it? Normal, regular, checking your mails. It works like that. So once you are defined on the system as, first bear in mind we have what somebody will call an account holder, who may in the ministry could be the minister. Then the spending officer is the chief director. If you come to the level of a department, maybe the head of department, maybe, or the chief executive is the principal account holder, and then the director of admin or somebody is also the spending officer. It gives room for checks and balances. So the system is so clear that you cannot overspend because your budget is defined on the system. And again, before you ultimately get your money, you would have gone through the process by way of issue a requisition. Then when the requisition is escalated to the spending officer, he gives approval on the system. Then you take the requisition, you go to the next stage. You go through your procurement process. Here again, the entity, if it's above a certain threshold, you open up for bids. You do all this on the system. So you make sure that you are following procedure.
I understand you very well.
So ultimately, you cannot even overrun your budget, seriously.
I understand you very well. But you see,
page 22 of the net assets we have is a negative balance of 85.9. That's the last bottom of the balance sheet. And that is represented or contributed by surplus or deficits. Deficit of 14.8 billion. Then accumulated deficit of 71.1 billion. How did you arrive at the 71.1 billion? Is it a balancing figure?
Yeah, the 85 that has been shown there is accumulated, assets.
Yeah.
You bought the assets of a year ago, so you continue to carry forward the asset. So that is and the loans are also not a particular 1 year loan. They are also accumulated loans that are contracted several years ago. So
no, my question,
everything is cumulative.
Yeah, my question is on the contributed by the last.
Yeah, the
portion.
71, Honorable Chair, is the accumulated balance carried forward from previous years.
Where can I trace it?
It's in the. It should be in the 2014 figure.
Yeah, the 2014 figure is the next column, which is 67.7 billion. That should have been the figure. So I'm assuming that is a balancing figure. So it threw the account out.
Yeah, I will ask my deputy who was there.
Yeah, Chairman, that one was due to prior year adjustments that were done to get the new figure of the 67 million.
So you have 67 as the closing deficit or net worth, which is a deficit in 2014.
Yes, please.
If you do any prior year adjustment, then that should have been part of the notes, which can be referred to when you get a 71.
Yes, please.
So now you have not done that adjustment. So I'll take the 67 and add a 14 to it, which will not get a 85. No. So the account is wrong.
Yeah. Honorable Chairman, yes, except the account is not wrong. All that is not here.
By reading it this way is wrong.
Yes.
But if you do the adjustment somewhere,
is the notes that will link the two.
You have not done the notes.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have that? Should we have that information so that we can properly balance the account?
Okay, sir.
Thank you very much. Honorable members.